and I'm still useless. I won't be bringing it. I can only do a really bad.
Do we have a guitar?
No. All I can play is "Old Man" by Neil Young over and over and over. And my wife's starting to sort of suggest that anything but that's nice. But even from that limited experience, I've learnt that there's a chord has its own personality or colour. We all know E minor is sad. Another chord has a different personality and a colour. G is kind of thoughtfully hopeful. However, the jump between them, that's a third thing. Chord changes have personalities just like chords do. I never knew this. People who know guitars are laughing at me because it's the bleeding obvious. It just reminds me of Fawlty Towers. I have to say, in reference to that hotel room, that's the best hotel in Cork. And I like, you get it with green and orange. When you put green next to orange, you get this black line down the middle. It's not there. It hasn't been drawn in, but the eye puts it there because green is next to orange. And similarly with genre passages, if you put comedy or farce next to bloodthirsty science fiction, just for example, you get this sort of third thing that something like that in filmmaking.
No. Totally different. No, yes. I mean, obviously, that's one of my things. I like tonal variation, and I keep trying to push to see exactly how far you can go, how broad that range can be shifted, how. He describes some cuts and sensitive, like, I mean, that's like just a guillotine that comes down and chops off my emotion. I'm like, yes. But the recombined alchemy of tone and genre and ideas, there's such an infinite amount of things that you can make that are new and never done just through these little subtle shifts that are not typical, I guess, uncommon. We have uncommonness.
I think that's an underrated motivational artistic force, the pioneering instinct, just that this sense that you kind of know it's all in Shakespeare if you look hard enough, or at least embryonic versions of pretty much everything is there if you do look hard enough. However, sometimes with tone, with this sort of theory of propinquity, this sort of nearness of things, and these third tones, these third effects that come from combining A with B, you can begin to think that actually maybe I'm the first one here, maybe I'm the first person possibly to have tried this variation out, and that's really exciting. Yeah.
I mean, everyone doesn't want to. Everyone feels that they're trying to find some, bit of themselves, which this is a subject that leads into another aspect of the Mitchellverse that is often discussed, which is your desire to have a kind of ontological whole to your fiction, where every book is related to another book, either through characters or events. And I see some people when they're trying to, they get uncomfortable, like, oh God, I haven't read all the books. Will this mean anything? Will I get it? I don't know. It's too many. I have to know this character is related to that character in this book. But you don't. What I find that is so I mean, when you say new, I know that there are books that have done, or writers that have been interested in this. What I love about what you're doing is that you're suggesting this continuity with a relationship to your art that isn't about discrete or disparate elements, or this is my blue period, this is when I'm doing something else here. That has nothing to do with these things, because that's all an artifice, that's all a construction. That all art is related to the artist. And yes, you can talk about it in a quantum way. This is this time period, this is this thing, this is that book when they were sad, or they were writing about their breakup, or whatever. But all the work of art has a continuity, which is the artist's life. And what I think is, I don't know if you started off and you had this instinct, or if you just followed it kind of in an intuitive way, or if you began to sense that there was a dynamic. I think it really shifted for me when I read Black Swan Green, and that one was also connected, which is the most kind of autobiographical of your work. And you resisted the desire to say, like, well, here's the super realistic novel that's very autobiographical, and it's not really related to this big genre world of like Cloud Atlas and Bone Clocks and all these other books. Actually, yes, no, this is a part of my life, this is a part of my work, this is a part of my timeline in the same way. And that, I think it's beautiful in the connectedness that you as a reader feel to you as an author. So was it planned?
That's the thing, I mean, how can I possibly say something as eloquent or perceptive as that in response? I always think this dilemma.
Don't dodge the question.
I wonder where Agent Smith came from. That's what But, was it planned? It was, but in 3 stages. In other words, not really. But I started off doing it because it was cool, really, because I liked the way that there's a character in Wind Up Bird Chronicle who's by Haruki Murakami, who's kind of, who I think is someone from Hard Boiled Wonderland as well. I liked that. Or a book that probably about only 100 people read a year, but some of them 20s, called The Sleepwalk. The Sleepwalkers by Heinrich Boll, is that right? It's something. It's 3 novellas, different times, different places, and they represent the Romantic period, sort of the war period, and then the modernist era. And Milan Kundera put me onto this, not personally, but in a book of criticism he read. And I just kind of really liked, and he does this, he has the characters from different points, or a dance to the music of time. There's a lot of this in as well. There's a more sagas, admittedly, but that little of recognition you get when I know you. I thought, well, you are. You, the writer, is guided by you, the reader. So I put them in for that reason, because it was cool. Reason number 2, I noticed that, say, if this is on Black Swan Green time, there's a character in the book of Cloud Atlas called Ava Crommelink, who is the composer's daughter. She's this terrible flirt, and one day she does a flirt too far, which has fairly disastrous consequences on some of the characters in the book. And then, writing Black Swan Green, is this boy stuck in a 1980s artless, poetryless world. I needed an exotic, a foreign bird to fly in and teach him things that nobody locally could do, because they are made of Worcestershire mud, like the protagonist. And so I sort of I have it in my head that all of my ex-characters are hanging around a kind of job centre, like grumbling out of work actors who were once told they were part of the family, but the phone call from the director never arrives.
What's the sweetest, most compassionate thing? Your characters are out of work. I should really bring him.
So I gave Ava Van Crommelin, sort of worked out how old she'd be. It used to be about 60s, mid-60s, right kind of age. Could she be living there? Possibly 1 or 2 marriages later. So I brought her in for the audition. She performed pretty well. Gave her a job. And noticing that if you knew her in Cloud Atlas, if you had gone on that narrative journey with her, then, and if you believed in that world, really importantly, when she arrives in Black Swan Green, she sort of brings with her a suitcase of associations and something that the Germans must have a word for, but she kind of brings reality concreteness with her and unzips it up and flings open the suitcase and it sort of spills out onto the floor of Black Swan Green, and I think enhances it. Yet again, Shakespeare was there first with Falstaff. He's their great character in the history plays. We've sort of seen him, we've seen his arc, fantastic arc. He sort of hangs out with the future King of England who is slumming it in Falstaff's company. Falstaff thinks he's going to be this passport to fame and glory when he ascends the throne, but it doesn't work out like that. And he dies of a broken heart just off stage. And great death, brilliant death. I'd give one of whatever, I have 2 of to be able to write a death like that. It's fantastic. And the story goes, the Queen really liked Falstaff and wanted a curtain call, it's wanted him back. So Shakespeare writes The Merry Wives of Windsor, and which is a rom-com farce full of jokes about falling into smelly laundry, which in the Elizabethan era would have been really smelly, much worse than now. And it works really well on its own. It stands on its own 2 feet. But if you read the history plays, boy, it's got this extra layer of poignancy and wistfulness and melancholy. Even as you're laughing, you're thinking of Falstaff's death scene. It's great. So that's reason 2. Reason 3, and this is going to be coming back to your question, or coming back to your beautiful exegesis of my literal verse. That's so vainglorious to call it that myself, but my Uber book. It's really crisp and Hershey-esque to sort of talk about the literal verse.
That's the case.
Last year, talking about Slade House with my Canadian editor, and got to the end and she leant over, this was after 1 or 2 gin and tonics too many after an event, and slapped me on the shoulder, rather impertinently, and said, but she can get away with it because she's Louise Dennis and she can get away with, she's fantastic, this is getting worse and worse. Quickly down to the point. She slapped me on the shoulder and said, I know what you're doing, Mitchell, you're making your own Middle-earth, aren't you? And I said, no. Kind of, yeah, I suppose I am. I hadn't noticed it until then. All my self-realisation never comes through my own powers of self-analysis. I basically have none. It's kind of Lana and Louise and a handful of friends who know me better than I do, and know me well enough to tell me so. That's where my self-knowledge comes from. And then I realised that I've always been wanting to have my cake and eat it. To have the cake of maximalism and eat it of minimalism. That's broken up. That's a track. Live on stage, a dared metaphor. It's gone. No, not even George Clooney can bring that back.
Well, what you said was, when we were talking about that metaphor, was about the cake and eat it too. What's so brilliant is that you want to exist in between the binary. That this was relevant in many ways. but this idea of all of it, it's not this, that, it's not one other, it's not A, B, it's not black, white, it's this idea that we want to be inclusive instead of exclusive for our exploration of the Middle Earthness of our imagination is a desire to not bifurcate or segregate or separate. It's the desire to represent it all.
I've always had this hunger to scoop up the whole of reality. Every little seat in every city, every flower in every garden, every
Nathan walking. I mean, Nathan walking is everything. It's like all there. It's all the details. Bring them all in. It's all a part.
I know I'm doomed. I'm finite. It is infinite. I know it can't happen. Yet, if you're going to die anyhow, why not die trying to do it? Is how I feel. And you can't do it with the or. You don't stand a chance with the or. You can only do it. You only have a ghost of a chance with the both and the and the all. Isn't English great? You can do it in. You can make a sentence like that in English. I was told by my French translator. It says he was trying to translate a sentence from Cloud Atlas saying that says art is about the how and not about the what. And he said, "You bastard! Do you have any idea how the length of the paragraph I have to write?"